I want you to stop copy pasting your actions inside your Home Assistant automations. Scripts are a way better option for this most of the time, especially as your smart home grows. But a lot of tutorials out there often stop after like a basic notification script, and scripts are way more powerful than just that. So today I'm going to show you how you can crush it with Home Assistant scripts by explaining how the parts work, and I'll show you how I use it inside my Home Assistant instance. So what is a script? Like, why do we care about scripts? Think of it like a reusable set of steps that you store them in the order that you want them to run, and then they will run in that order every single time. If your automation only has one action and that action's a simple one, then you probably don't need a script to do it. You can just use the built-in Home Assistant actions instead. For example, let's say you wanted a script that always turned on your living room TV and your stereo and your speakers and anything else you would need to watch TV. You can put all of those into a script like I have over here. This script has 4 different steps in it, as we can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then each one does something different. So for this top step, it turns on all 3 of the things that I need to watch a movie. It turns on my NVIDIA Shield, it turns on my receiver, and it turns on my TV. The second step then switches the input to the correct one on the Shield, and then it waits for a couple of seconds for my TV to catch up, and then switches the input on my TV to the correct one. Basically, all these steps run in order, and it's in this specific order. That way, nothing gets weird with the HDMI setup on my TV here. Now, in the script, each one of these steps runs exactly how it's configured. And so if we want to turn everything on with my TV and stereo, we can just go up here and click Run Script, and it will turn everything on in the order that I described. For example, here's another script where instead of a bunch of different discrete steps all after another, I have one in the sequence. This is just a choose statement if you haven't seen one of these. A choose statement lets you have a condition. Oops, let's open that up. It has one condition and then a bunch of actions for every option you give it. And so for this one, this controls a table in my living room that has a WLED controller with an LED strip on it. And so this one I want to change based on what season it is. So for this one, it'll turn on the LED strip. It'll then change the intensity and the colors and whatnot. And then for this other option, it'll detect, is it not Christmas? It basically is at any other time of the year, and then it'll turn the LEDs on, but it'll change different settings. And so this lets us have one spot to do anything related to this LED strip. If there was like a third option, like 4th of July or Halloween or something, I could come in here and add a third option for the LED strip to change colors for that instead. And so this basically takes all the different parts that this LED strip could do, and instead of having 3 different automations that triggers each one of these, I have a script that dynamically figures out which options need to be run depending on certain conditions. When you're just getting started with Home Assistant, you might think, okay, I can just have 3 automations. One for is it Christmas, is it not Christmas, and then this other thing, like is it Thanksgiving? But by using a script, you can have all 3 of those in one section using a choose statement, and there's one spot that controls that LED strip. That makes it so much easier to maintain in the long run. But scripts are even more useful when you can combine them with other scripts. So for example, if we go back to the media one, all the steps here are listed for me to turn things on for my TV and my stereo. Now, if I was just only using this in one spot, it might not make as much sense, but by having everything in this one script, we can then call it in different areas of Home Assistant whenever we need the media stuff turned on. So for example, let's say you have a movie night mode and you want to turn on the TV first, and then you'll turn off all the lights and then do everything else that you need to. We can actually, in this script, call the living room media script and turn on all of that. And so this script, this movie night script, will say, hey, turn on the media. And then the other script will go, okay, I'm doing it right now. Like that sort of thing. But we don't have to limit ourselves to just one script. So let's say you had a guest mode where you wanted the TV or stereo on, or you had a romance mode where you wanted to, set the mood right. Then you could have that script turn on here too. And all 3 of those different Modes would then use the same script to turn on the living room media player in my case. So that makes it way easier than I was saying, media player.turn-on, Sony TV, like that saves all those steps into a script and then reuses it over and over and over again in different automations. Oh, and real quick, there's two main ways that you can run a script inside Home Assistant. And so the first way to turn on a script is you can go to like your automation, and then you can go to action, and then you can just search for the script name. So you can search living room media, and then it will be this first action right here, and you can just click that one, and that'll just run the script as is. There's a second way that you can actually run a script, and that is with the script.turn-on option. And so you can click that here, and then you can go to the target, and then you can search for a target kind of like any other Home Assistant automation, living room media, and then you can do that way. There are two main differences between these two. For this first option, when you run it like this means that whatever automation is calling it, that means nothing else after it can run until this script is finished. So it's kind of like blocking in a way, if you're familiar with that principle. This script has to finish before things after it in the automation continue to run. And so this other method, when you use the script.turn-on, this just says, hey, run, and then good luck. And then that script will then run all its actions, but there won't be any communication between the two. There won't be a blocking, like that script will just run, and then the automation will continue with all of the other actions that it's supposed to. If you noticed, another option over here is this one has what's called a response variable. And so scripts can return data to other scripts or other automations. This method down here currently does not have response variables. Only when you call the script directly are you allowed to save any data from your Home Assistant script. We'll get to response variables here in a little bit, but first we need to talk about the fields in a script. Did you know that you can actually pass data into a script from your automation? It was pretty cool when I first found this out. So scripts have what are called fields. They're basically variables, and you could pass data into a script using those variables. And so, for example, if you have a script that you want to have a phone number and a message, like let's say you're texting someone if there's a leak or if you're on vacation or something like that. If your script has a field, you can pass in different values in your automations. So over here in my simple script about sending a text, I have two different fields. One's called the phone number, and then the other is called the message. And so obviously one is for phone numbers and the other is for the actual text that you want to send someone. And these two fields are what show up when you call this script in your automation. So you got phone number here and message here, and then in the automation that I'm using the script in, there's the phone number, and then there is the message. These are configurable, so you can name them whatever you want, but the data gets sent to the script. And then over here, this sequence down here, this action, will then use the data that I passed in. Now over here on the field phone number, there's this field key right here. This is the thing that stores the value that you pass in. And so you can name this whatever you want. Same thing for message. In my case, I just called it message. And so you got phone_number and then message. And those are used down here in my script sequence. You can see phone number and message. And so you can use this however you need to. Fields have a bunch of different types associated with them. Most of the time, the text selector is probably going to be the one you're going to use. It's the simplest and the easiest, but there are all of these other options. If you did need to have a different selector, this is basically like a filter for what type is accepted for this field. And so if you wanted to pass in something that was an RGB color code, you could use this, and then you would have to set some values in here for what you wanted the default to be. And so each of these fields has a default value if you needed to set it. Because this one is text messages, you generally send a different message every time. But if you wanted to have like some default message, you could just have that there. And then if the script didn't get a value for that field, it would just send this value by default. If you need to get data out of a script, that is a little trickier currently inside Home Assistant. It can be done using response variables like I mentioned earlier. Maybe Home Assistant can improve how this works in the future by having response variables edited at the script level or something like that in order to better send it to an automation. The automation can automatically know that it's getting a variable. But in the meantime, different actions or scripts can have values stored in a response variable. So here's an example of sending a bedtime joke using an AI task, because those can respond with data, and then it's easy to show that whole sequence. And so over here, you can see this generate data with my little silly prompt to the Claude task here. And then when Claude sends back that message, that gets stored in this response variable called internal response. And then over here, I just have a simple notification task, put a little notification on my sidebar with internal response, that's the variable's name. And then in this case, it's .data. So like if I were to run this right now and I click run, it'll sit there chunking away for a few seconds. And then down here under notifications, say, here's the response. And then it'll say, with the stupid AI joke there. And so that took the value from Claude, stored it into the response variable, and then used that response variable in this little notification here. This is all within the script. And so once the script ends, that means the value in the response variable is deleted, it's removed. And so you can't really use it anywhere else. So if you want to pass it out of the script into an automation for some other use case, you can also do that too. So here, if we disable that one and enable this one, this is basically a stop command. This exits the script and will return whatever we stored in our internal response variable earlier in this task. And so this, with the value in here, is what gets sent out to your automation. And so if we go to an automation where we use this script, we can then see that we used the direct calling method like we talked about earlier. And then this is a second response variable. You can name this whatever you want. And the value from the script gets sent to the automation using the stop. And then in the automation, you take that value in this variable name, and then you can also use it however you want in other actions in your automation. So here I just do the same thing. I just put it into a notification. And then if we were to run this automation, we would then go run actions. And then after a few moments, it'll chunk there. And then over here in notifications, we can then see the same thing with another dumb AI joke. But no matter what your script is doing, you got to make sure that the running mode is correctly set. And so all scripts have what's called a running mode. And so over here, you can change the mode if you need to. Basically, if you have the single mode, which is the default, if you run the same script twice, it won't run the second time. It'll just log a warning saying, hey, I tried to run, but this thing was already running. If you used the restart mode, then it would stop the current running one and then rerun the script a second time. If you use the queued mode, it would stack them up in order. So if you wanted to run the same script 5 times, you would set the queue length to 5 and then hit run action 5 times, and it would run that script 5 times. And of course, parallel does kind of what it sounds. It runs that same script multiple times, but all next to each other without necessarily interacting with each other. Most of my scripts have been single mode. I don't think I've ever used parallel or queued. Maybe restart once years ago, but all of them are pretty much single mode. Let me know in the comments if you're using something other than single mode. I'd actually be kind of interested in kind of some of the different use cases out there. And so in an earlier video, I showed 3 crazy NFC tag ideas for Home Assistant. And so for all those automations, I actually used scripts in order to control how they run and the order in which they run. So if you want to see how I use scripts to make all of those happen, you can check that out here. If you want to see the rest of my Home Assistant Foundations playlist, you can check that one out here, and I'll see you there.